With the help of a secretly stricken Jurati, Picard and crew infiltrate the Europa mission's Gala. However, their desperate scramble to save the future runs into trouble, quite literally, in this tightly paced 6th episode, 2 of 1. But what happened? What did I like, and what did I not enjoy so much? Before I get into this week's breakdown and review, please note this video contains spoilers, so if you've not yet seen Picard's latest episode 2 of 1, or any of Picard's season 2 for that matter, this might not be the video for you. Let's warp into this. Picard lies on the ground, barely conscious, with blood trickling from his mouth. He flashes back once again to memories of his mother as Rios and Talon rush to his aid. We then flash back exactly 34 minutes. Picard, in much better shape at this point, waits for Jurati to upload the crew's fake IDs into the security system. Rendering the guards unconscious with a knockout aerosol, Jurati tries to reach the terminal but isn't strong enough to break free from her restraints. The Borg Queen, now residing solely in Jurati's head, offers to take over to assist, an offer which the Doctor reluctantly accepts. Jurati breaks free and uploads the fake IDs just in time. The Borg Queen, her power over Jurati growing, offers her hand to the Doctor, suggesting that she or they enjoy the evening. Jurati hesitates, but ultimately takes the Queen's hand. Resolving last week's cliffhanger in a quick, clean and mostly predictable manner was fine. What was a little unexpected, however, was the state we found Picard in, which certainly succeeded in piquing interest. This is the second time in 6 episodes the show has used a flashback narrative device, however, and it's not something that I'm particularly fond of. Picard and Talon observe an uncomfortable Renee as her mission commander calls for her to join his party. Picard and Talon once again discuss Renee's mental fragile state, with Talon reminding Picard that Renee is a mere 10 hours away from pre-mission quarantine and that they only have to keep her safe until then. At the bar, Raffi and Rios catch up. Rios confesses to loving 21st century life, something Raffi has noticed. Raffi speculates the reason for Rios' bounce is his interaction with Teresa, the doctor from the clinic. Rios expresses admiration for the Doctor and her work with the community, but Raffi urges caution, remarking that a relationship between two people from different centuries is kind of built on lies. Moments later, surveying the scene, Raffi once again sees a vision of Elnor, much to her distress. Picard and Talon intercept text messages between Renee and Q, still acting as her therapist. Renee confesses wanting to back out of the mission, which Q encourages. Feeling the need to step in, Picard suggests speaking to Renee, something Talon is firmly against, speculating that Renee may, in fact, not be ready for the mission. Picard, however, is adamant, declaring that it's Renee's destiny, and perhaps Talon herself may not be ready for the responsibility of watching over the young Picard. Picard begins to move in Renee's direction, but is unexpectedly interrupted by Adam Soong, who shocks the Admiral, revealing his connection to Q, and urges Picard to walk away. Picard tells Soong he has no idea who he's dealing with in Q, but the Doctor isn't interested, using his influence with mission directors in an attempt to get Picard thrown out of the Gala. These scenes were serviceable, moving the story along fine and pushing the urgency of the mission. Most of what we saw here was technically proficient, looking good with some confident direction from the returning Jonathan Frakes. What I didn't like, however, was a plethora of moments that raised questions that broke the immersion, or lines and character actions that didn't work at best and came across as remarkably ill-conceived at worst. Raffi and Rios' scene was a nice moment, one of the many nice moments peppered throughout the episode. I'm starting to suspect that Rios may not want to return back to his own time. I say I suspect, but I think it's clearly the show's intent as it continues to deliver these moments and lines with the subtlety of a sledgehammer to the face. Picard and Talon's scenes were alright until they weren't. I find it very odd that Talon, having watched over Renee following a strict code of non-interference her entire life, would suddenly relent to the whims of a man she met only a couple of hours ago. I'm not buying it. This is a character committed to a lifelong cause. They shouldn't be U-turning so easily. And should we talk about how Picard essentially gaslights Talon here into believing that she's not ready for a job that she's been doing for almost quarter of a century? Really bad optics. Picard's exchange with Soong picked things up for a brief moment though. It's always a joy to see Stewart and Spiner do their thing, and the way their on-screen chemistry can change so dramatically despite the two being close friends for so long in real life is testament to their elite level acting pedigree. But back in universe, this exchange made zero sense. Why Soong was so openly introduce himself to Picard is odd given the action he ultimately takes, but even stranger is the power Soong has over the mission's top brass. Sure, it's made known that Soong has donated generously to the cause, but this is the same person who has been publicly outed from his profession, branded a disgrace for his rule-breaking and dangerous experimentation. I find it hard to believe that that senior mission officials would be so open to being seen so publicly with a social pariah of a doctor, no matter how much money he donated. In the sea of partygoers, Jurati and the Borg Queen continue their mental battle. The Queen expresses admiration for Jurati's actions, lying to her crewmates and concealing the truth of her compromised state. Jurati said she did what she needed to do to protect the life of the police officer and ensure that they all have means of getting home. The Queen wants to play, manipulating Jurati by appealing to her basic body chemical needs. Rios then approaches Jurati, concerned for her mental state following the earlier events on the La Serena and the fact that she's not responding to Picard's messages. The Queen then manipulates Jurati into pulling Rios in for a kiss. Jurati then promptly excuses herself, telling Rios she's not feeling herself tonight. Tuning into comms and hearing of Picard's security issues, Jurati and the Queen combine, turning out the event's lights with a nano-electric pulse, distracting the room and allowing Picard to escape security with a confident singing performance. Finishing her impromptu performance to the roar of the crowd, the Queen thanks Jurati, revealing the rush of endorphins was all she needed to take full control. Jurati's eyes blacken briefly, her expression of terror twisted into a satisfied smile. Once again, Jurati and the Borg Queen steal the show. The pair have been Picard's strongest aspect for a few weeks now, and the developments here are truly shocking. Consider me fully invested in where we go from here. I just pray that the payoff is worth all the build. But the big centerpiece of the episode, Jurati's very showman-like singing performance, left me with lots of questions. Of course it did. The Queen triggers essentially an EMP which kills the power, but a spotlight still works, as do the mics of the band's instruments. The band also somehow know exactly what song to play for a person who just a few moments ago was led away by security. And what of the security guard scene at the beginning? Are you telling me the most secure gala in the entire world doesn't have someone checking in with the people in the control room? The Queen even remarks that the knockout spray would wear off in about 10 minutes. Why then didn't they call in and lock the event down? How did Picard escape the security guard so easily? Some, let's call them more forgiving fans, will dismiss my criticism as mere nitpicks. If it was just a single or only a couple of issues, I'd probably be inclined to agree. But this wasn't just a couple of issues though, was it? This was a Dyson sphere of nonsense. Alone in another part of the building, Renee is approached by Picard, who is now wearing a security officer tag and earpiece. Renee asks for advice on how to overcome her melancholy, to which Picard suggests that she look up at a model hanging overhead, which Renee excitedly describes as a Spike OV-165. The two talk about their respective fears, with Picard urging Renee to accept the fear and look for the light to get herself out of dark moments. Picard momentarily thinks back to memories of his mother and appears pained by something. Picard then asks a reinvigorated Renee to join him in the main room for a toast, asking if she's going to join them. Renee accepts and takes Picard's hand. Elsewhere, Adam Soong sits at the wheel of his car, grappling with the decisions he's made. Determined to do whatever it takes to save his daughter, the Doctor drives away. Outside, Renee thanks Picard for the pep talk and jokingly invites him to come with her to Europa. Their moment is interrupted, however, when Soong speeds towards the two. Picard manages to push Renee to safety, but is hit by the car and knocked to the ground. Look, I'm a sucker for any references to Enterprise, and the sight of the OV-165 model seen in that show's opening credits was a thing of beauty. Penelope Mitchell, the actress playing Renee, started her scene with Picard a little shakily, to the point that I probably would have asked for another take, but did grow into the scene nicely, with Patrick Stewart doing what he does best and delivering a speech that evoked warm memories of good times watching TNG. Older and frailer he may be, but every time we see this kind of performance from Sir Pat, we just have to stop and admire one of our era's all-time greats. The following scenes weren't so great. Soong's in-car meltdown, complete with footage from last week's episode, wasn't really needed, not in that format anyway. Just a couple of pained facial expressions would have been enough. We already have a pretty good understanding of what this man is going through. I don't think we need recaps to punctuate the moment. The hit and run sequence though was just straight up awful. An embarrassing piece of filmmaking featuring a poor choice of shooting angles, hamstrung by, honestly, some of the worst editing I've ever seen in a Star Trek production. Quick sidebar, Jonathan Frakes is a legend on and off screen. He's easily one of my favourite people associated with the franchise, but I find it bizarre how he gets so many free passes from fans because of his status. This was a rushed scene that really should have been presented better to raise the stakes. Now you might be thinking, but they can't actually run Patrick Stewart over. Yeah, that's why they use stunt doubles. The way this was filmed, it didn't look like Picard was caught at all. All they needed to do was have a double roll on the bonnet, and this would have been a far more effective scene. A distraught Soong arrives back home and cryptically reveals his frustrations and fears to a concerned Kore. Soong tells Kore the why of things matters, and that she, his life's work, is his why. Later that evening, Kore accesses Soong's lab. Searching the internet, she finds articles revealing her father's public status as a shamed and disgraced genetic scientist. Kore browses through files containing video footage of Soong and a young girl that she doesn't recognize. Delving further, Kore discovers to her horror that she is but one of a long line of failed attempts by Soong to create a healthy offspring. Ignoring Kore's concern for her father for a second, I'm sure she's seen her father come home in worse states than just an undone bow tie. This wasn't great. This actually reminded me of exactly the same point last season where Soji realised her true nature and age and scanned literally everything on the Borg cube to the exact same result. Number 1. Did Kore really never go into her father's lab before now? Never? She's locked away from the entire world and she never thought to do something like this. Really? Number 2. Does Soong, clearly a shady character who could be susceptible to data hacks, really run a computer with zero security? Number 3. Browsing through file after file with increasing stress. What are the chances that Kore would access videos in the correct chronological order? Mathematicians and chaos theorists, I would love to know the answer. Despite these questions, I do remain intrigued by what's going on here. Could Picard be giving us some sort of canonical explanation as to why the entire Soong family looks exactly the same? And could this whole plot point in actuality be the trigger for the Confederation future instead of Renee? The crew rush Picard to Teresa's clinic. There, Picard enters cardiac arrest, but Teresa is able to stabilize his synthetic body at the cost of her equipment, but the Admiral, for reasons the Doctor is unable to determine, remains unconscious and unresponsive. For someone owning a clinic with, I'm assuming, zero budget, Teresa handled the loss of her very expensive equipment very well. Also, is she not confused at how Rios escaped ICE custody? Also, Rios is back at the clinic. Did he remember to pick up his comm badge? I bet he didn't. Tallinn scans Picard's brain and discovers significant activity which rules out a coma. Tallinn speculates that Picard is stuck, anchored by some sort of mental trauma, and offers to access his subconscious mind via a jury-rigged mind meld to pull him out of the memories that are holding him in limbo. Raffi protests, but with a lack of alternatives and running out of time, gives in to Tallinn, remarking, "How much worse can it get?" as Jurati, now fully possessed by the Borg Queen, slowly makes her way to downtown Los Angeles. This was a mess. Picard's second season is starting to buckle under the weight of all its questions. Questions that keep building with no sign of much of them getting the appropriate time to resolve in any kind of satisfying way. I haven't even talked about Tallinn and her true nature. Is she a Romulan? Is she Laris? Is she Isis? I find it odd that Raffi, someone that the show can actually have act as the audience and ask these difficult questions during crunch time, doesn't go there and ask these questions. No one seems willing to ask the questions that actually matter. Why? We have 3 episodes remaining, and next week looks set to focus primarily on Picard and the resolution of his childhood trauma. Assuming that's the case, we have 2 episodes with an awful lot of work to do, and I'm starting to worry that we're running out of road. Look, don't get me wrong, there was some good here, as I've highlighted. There is still hope. This has been a markedly better season so far. I really don't want to moan about everything all the time, but my goodwill towards Picard Season 2 at this point is slowly ebbing away, and this deeply frustrating episode only intensified that feeling. There's hope that we can get back on track next week. We've got a lot to cover. I'm giving 2 of 1, 1.5 stars out of 5. What did you think of this episode? Let me know in the comments below, and please like and subscribe to the channel for more Star Trek reviews and recaps coming soon. Until next time, I'm the Trek Lad. Live long and prosper.